I think the feeling more was, wow, we've finally gotten to this point. I mean, we had probably a good 6 months of pre-production before we got to the studio. And so I remember moving our stuff into the studio, and we had this big empty studio. We hadn't built any sets yet, but I brought my drawing table in, and I set my drawing table up and put some of the concept art around and some of the storyboards, and we were there. We finally had the studio, and we were moving on with, we were making progress, and so that felt good.
We had a place to put all this junk that we'd been acquiring over the past few months, all the costumes and props and little pieces of junk that we thought would be good to use on the sets and stuff. So initially that's what the space was used for, was just to house all this stuff that we'd been keeping in our apartments or at our parents' house up to that time.
Plans and designs for the sets. Well, for the original sets, like the Andorian corridors and stuff like that, we did some sketches. Josh and I did some sketches, and Jeff Link did a sketch. And from there, we just drew out some rough plans on scratch paper and figured out about how much lumber we would need. The sets were mostly constructed out of 2x2s and 1/4-inch hardboard. And so we went to Home Depot and bought some supplies and just started putting stuff together. The Andorian complex started out as just that doorway, the entrance structure. And to do that didn't take too long. It was just one false front with a working doorway on it. And it was quite a while ago, so I can't remember exactly how much time it took us, but it probably took us a couple weeks to get that thing put together the way we wanted it and to get the control panel on there and stuff. But then once we were done using that for the Andorian entrance, that became the doorway to the elevator down in the Andorian complex, the underground complex, and that led into a little cave-like area. The cave-like area, I remember, took a long time because we had to first build up this frame with 2x2s, cover that with chicken wire and kind of, stretch it and pull it and try to make it into like the shape of approximately how rocks would be, and then cover that with paper mache. And then that had to be painted to look like rocks. And so that took a while. There were also a lot of the arches, like trapezoidal arches in the Andorian complex. There were a lot of those, and so we had to build probably 8 or 10 of those. And those got reused as well when we had the Klingon detention facility. We just repainted them and redressed them. And so we really had to make good use of just the few things that we had in the limited space that we were working in. The turbo lift, you don't see very much of it in the episode, but we actually detailed the inside. There's some trim along the inside, some green and red colored trim, and then a cool little handle that you grab onto when you tell the elevator where to go. And details like the mesh cage in the Exeter hallway. We couldn't actually find the type of mesh that they used, so we had to find something that would look on camera like that hexagonal mesh, and actually what it was just air filters. From a distance it looks pretty darn close to what you see in the original series. For control panels, we tried to simulate the same types of buttons. We tried to get little colored plastic gems and stuff like that to use for the buttons, things that would look like the same types of materials that they used on the original series when they used buttons. That we had a 2-year lease on the space, that did keep things moving along, and toward the end we were really rushing to get things done and get the last shots filmed before we had to be out of our space. Setting up and shooting the scenes in the Exeter corridors. We set up that set in about 2 weeks, in about a 2-week period right before our lease was up, and we filmed all the scenes on that set in the last 2 days. So as soon as our last shot was filmed there in the Exeter hallways, we had to start taking the wall flats down and hauling them out to the dumpsters because we were supposed to be out the next day.
The Andorian entrance location was built on this cement platform at the University of Minnesota down by the Mississippi River. There's a little kind of a park area down there where people throw frisbee and stuff, and I'd been down there a number of times before, and we brought our camera down one day and took some test footage of that, and we decided that if we just built a false front for the back wall, of that platform, we could really make it look like some kind of an original Star Trek set. And that's what we did.
We added the scenes on the bridge of the Exeter in last. We decided that those needed to be there just because when we did a rough edit of the movie, it just seemed like something was missing and that you needed to see a person back on the ship. And we had always intended to use this character of Commander Joe Harris, but we never had an actress to play the part, and we didn't know how we were going to show her back on the ship because the only sets we had for the ship were those hallways, and they were long gone by the time we got around to realizing we needed some more shots. So because we were running out of time, there was only a couple months left until the movie was supposed to be released, we didn't really have the resources or the time to build a real bridge set. So what we did was we just built a few pieces. We had the captain's chair built, and we built a red rail, kind of like the deck rail that you see on the Enterprise bridge. And we had a chair for the communications officer. And with those elements, we were able to put those in front of a green screen and shoot some shots of Commander Harris on the bridge. Mostly she was just talking to the captain via his communicator. But it was nice that we were actually able to show her, since she was always intended to be one of the core members of the crew of the Exeter.
Scotty, come in.
All right, Captain. I'm giving her all she's got.
I'm giving her all she's got, Captain.
All right.
She can't take much more. She's falling apart at the seams.
Okay, that's all you.